Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen, and I'm back for another live stream brought to you by Princess Dental Staffing. So happy to see everyone. Um, if you are part of my regular crew and you're back and participating in this live stream, happy to see you again. And if you're brand new to this stream, welcome, firstly. And secondly, so today's topic, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 tips for making your dental resume memorable. So if you're brand new to these streams, feel free to send us a chat, send us a message with any questions, comments, thoughts, insights that you have. I normally do try to read them throughout the stream and answer them live, so feel free to do that. Or if you're not watching this live, feel free to drop us a comment and we'll get to it as soon as we can, okay? If you find the information that we're covering in these streams if you find the information that we're covering in these streams helpful and relevant, be sure to drop us a like. And if you don't want to miss out on any future streams, be sure to follow our page or subscribe to our channel. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump into today's topic. Like I said, I'm going to be sharing 3 tips with you about how to make your dental resume memorable, okay? How you make sure that it stands out from the pile, okay? So whether you're brand new to the dental industry or brand new to the workforce, or you've been around for a little while and you've been in this industry for a little bit, it's still very, very difficult. Most people have trouble writing their resumes or updating their resumes, right? And the reasons for that are pretty understandable. Firstly, if you're not writing resumes on a regular basis or updating your resume on a regular basis, it can be a little bit difficult to, hone back into that creative writing skill, right? If it's not something that you're using all the time. The other thing too is that the resume writing industry is consistently coming up with new ways to format your resume, new information to include, just new ways to create a resume, but all with the same objective, which is to make sure that you stand out from the crowd and make sure that your resume is memorable. So it can be kind of hard to keep up with those updates and, what are the new standards and what should I include and what shouldn't I, and what's kind of something that's a little bit dated that maybe I should take out of my resume, right? So it can be a little bit difficult depending on whether, even if you're, brand new or if you've just been around a while, okay? So like I said, today I'm going to be sharing with you some tips, 3 tips specifically, to help make your resume memorable. So tip number 1 is to focus on your strengths and achievements. What does that mean? It means making sure that your resume content is full of a lot of accomplishments and a lot of achievements and things that help you stand out and make you unique. So for example, in experience, in the work history or the experience section of your resume where you're listing your work history, one thing to really help focus on is by using accomplishment statements. Okay, so a lot of people, especially a lot of my clients, they submit resumes to me and they say things like, oh, I don't know why, I'm not being invited to interviews. I'm not sure why, I'm not getting called back or things like that. And then I read through their work history, and for each job entry, they've got between 10 and 15 bullet points of job duties. Okay, they're just listing job duties. And this is a mistake. This is a big mistake. One of the biggest mistakes that I see in my industry. And the reason is twofold. Firstly, because when it comes to, especially when it comes to the dental industry, job titles are pretty standard across the board. And what I mean is that, when it comes to like a dental assistant or a dental hygienist or a front office associate, the job duties for those job titles are pretty standard, pretty much the same from office to office, right? So if you're listing a bunch of job duties on your resume and your work history, you're not really adding a lot of value. You're not really listing a lot of new information, right? You're not listing information that the reader of the resume probably doesn't already know, right? Most of it is probably something that they've read over and over and over again, or they're well aware of, what these different positions do. So that's reason number 1 why not to list job duty. Well, not to list like 10 to 15 bullets of job duties. And the other reason is because, again, it can be quite lengthy, especially if you're trying to list every single job duty that you engage in. We all know that we don't just stick to our job description when it comes to doing our job, right? We always go above and beyond, and we always take care of things and have responsibilities that aren't always necessarily specifically listed in our job description. So if you're trying to list all of those, it makes your resume quite lengthy, and it doesn't help focus on what you've accomplished, okay? So when it comes to the experience section, when it comes to your work history section, whichever one you call it, so I normally recommend, if you're going to list job duties, I recommend between 1 and 3 sentences that just give a very broad overview of what your main responsibilities are for that position, okay? And I do it in paragraph format, not bullets. So, and then after that, those 1 to 3 sentences, I include 3 to 5 bullets of accomplishment statements. Now, I've talked about accomplishment statements in previous videos that I've done in previous live streams, but just, if you're brand new to this and you haven't seen these videos, or if you need a refresher, basically an accomplishment statement is a statement that has 2 main elements: an action and a direct result of that action, okay? So when we talk about action, we talk about action verbs: foster, collaborate, communicate, engage, provide, okay? Action verbs. And then when we talk about a result, we talk about potentially anytime we save the company time or money, anytime we make the company money, improve the customer experience, or keep the company legally compliant. Okay, and that's just kind of a short list of what I'm talking about when I talk about results, but there are definitely other results that you can use, okay? But that's essentially what an accomplishment statement is, and you can kind of change it up a little bit. You don't have to just have action and result. It doesn't have to be that solid or stiff. You can list the result first, the action afterwards. You can have more than one action. You can have more than one result. It does not really matter. So long as you have at least one action and one result, you've got a pretty good accomplishment statement. And when you mix it up like that, it makes your resume a little bit easier to read, okay? And it makes it a little bit more engaging, okay? Now, when it comes to your education, now, a lot of people, when they list their education, they say degree, university, or program, and dates. Okay, so if your education occurred within the last 10 years, you can also add your GPA. If it was high, 3.0 or over, good GPA. You can also add, were you on the dean's list? Were you part of any extracurriculars, parts of any groups or functions or anything like that? If you engaged in any projects or anything that are kind of unique, if you, took any classes that are outside of the norm, things of that nature are really great to list under education as well, okay? And it really kind of makes your educational experience a little bit unique. Okay, other things that you can add to your resume that really help highlight your accomplishments and your strengths are first, training. So if you have any training other than your main education, absolutely go ahead and add a whole new section to your resume and just list some of the trainings that you received, okay? Awards and accolades as well. So if you won any awards or if you got any special mentions or anything of that nature, an award or an accolade is an accomplishment statement in and of itself, because you were given an award or a special mention, and you were recognized for the expertise that you possess and that you use to help support the company or the office. Okay, so it's an accomplishment statement in and of itself. All right. Memberships as well. So if you have any industry-related memberships, ADHA or anything like that, you can also have a membership section on your resume as well, a separate section. Okay. So if you're having trouble kind of coming up with trying to brainstorm some accomplishment statements or things, strengths and skills and everything to add on your resume, one good tip might be to reach out to a colleague or friend or family member and kind of, talking it through with them, see if they can't help you brainstorm a little bit more, and you can kind of form a think tank and kind of brainstorm some things to add to your resume. The other thing that you can do is you can go online and you can pull up some job descriptions or some job postings and read through the descriptions and kind of see, job postings are a really, really great resource if you're trying to update your resume and trying to come up with content for your resume, because job postings are a great insight to what the potential new employer is interested in knowing about you. Okay, so if you read through those job postings and you see like these words and phrases that kind of keep coming up over and over again, or if you see specific requirements on those job postings, it's a great resource to help you kind of figure out the content that you're going to add in your resume. Okay. So tip number 2 is to make sure you include your tech skills, your technological skills. Okay. Now, when it comes to a skills section on your resume, now a skills section is not mandatory. You don't have to have one on your resume, but I always highly recommend it for positions that require some sort of specialized knowledge or some sort of technical aspect. Okay. And in the dental industry, that includes both, right? So I definitely recommend, for the dental industry, I definitely recommend having a skills section on your resume and including some technical skills, okay, and technological skills, okay? So for example, I will say that for my clients, I always in their technical skills, always include Microsoft Office or Microsoft Office Suite or specific applications in Microsoft. So Microsoft Word or Excel or PowerPoint, okay? And that normally depends on the job posting that they want to apply to. And when it comes to Microsoft Office, that's pretty standard knowledge across most industries, right? You'd be kind of hard pressed to find someone who has never used any sort of Microsoft Office application in their job or in school or personal use or whatever, right? But I still list it on the resume. And the reason is twofold. Firstly, because potential employers, when they're reading your resume, they never want to assume. Okay, that is one of the worst things that they can do, and that they don't want to do it, because if they hire you and it comes out that you don't have these skills or expertise, now they have to spend more time training you on how to do these things when they assumed that you had these skills. Okay, so they never want to assume. If it's not on your resume, they're not going to necessarily assume that you have it. Okay. And then the second reason is because, again, going back to those job postings, if you have specific job postings that you are interested in applying for, read the requirements section or the minimum qualifications or something, that section in the job posting if it has one. And you'll notice a lot of the times it says things like, must have experience with Microsoft Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. I see that all the time, or Microsoft Office or something like that. So for dental industry, they might say must have experience with EagleSoft or Dentrix, or must be able to work an X-ray machine or something like that. And if you don't have it on your resume, they're unlikely to assume that you have those skills. Okay, so make sure that you're listing your tech skills on your resume. Okay. Now, tip number 3 is getting my things mixed up here. So tip number 3 is to make sure that your resume is attractive and eye-catching. Okay. So you definitely want to have an attractive and an eye-catching resume. Again, it really sticks in people's minds, and it really helps you stand out from the pile and stand out from the crowd. Okay. So step number 1 for formatting an attractive and eye-catching resume is to decide what kind of format you're going to use. So when it comes to resumes, there are 3 main formats that we normally use. Okay, 3 main ones. Of course, there are tons of other formats out there that you can use, but there are 3 main ones. And the first structure is a chronological, sometimes called a reverse chronological resume. That is going to be your most popular style of resume. So when you think of resume, chronological or reverse chronological is likely the one you think about, right? You got your work history, and you got your education, and you've got your memberships and your professional summary and your name very big at the top and those sorts of things. Okay. So that's your chronological or your reverse chronological resume. What sets it apart from the other formats is that, as you guessed, it has a chronological history of a reverse chronological history, rather, because your most recent position is always listed first. Reverse chronological chronology, rather, of your experience. Okay. So the second structure is a functional resume. Okay. So a functional resume focuses more on your skills. Okay. So it doesn't actually include your work experience and work history. It just includes the skills that you possess and that can be applied to the dental industry. Okay, so when it comes to a chronological or reverse chronological format, it's best for people who, job seekers who have experience in the dental industry and have education in the dental industry, whereas a functional format might be better for people who have never worked in the dental industry, don't have any formal education in the industry, and really want to more so focus on what they bring to the table, even though they don't have the job titles to support their job search in the dental industry. Okay, and then the third type of format is a combination format, and this is kind of a as you like it kind of format. So basically, a combination format includes elements from reverse chronological and functional formats. Okay, so and it's really whichever elements that you want to be in there. So it can look very, very different from combo format to combo format. So those resumes can look very, very different from each other, but they're all still in the category of combination format. Okay, so more than likely you're going to be using a chronological or a reverse chronological resume for your job search. Okay, so firstly, make sure that you decide on what format that you want to use. Okay, now step number 2 is to decide how you want to style your resume. Okay, and if you're not great with Microsoft Word, if you're not highly skilled in Microsoft Word and you're not really sure how to do text boxes or word art or colors or icons or things of that nature, you can absolutely go on, say, YouTube and pull up some. There are tons and tons of videos on Microsoft applications and how to use them and how to do specific things and format specific things. There are also some courses available on some free educational sites, like Coursera or something like that. So most of these educational sites will have like a free format. A lot of them will, or not a free format, but a free option. A lot of them will. So if you engage in the free option, sometimes they will have classes on Microsoft Word, and that will kind of help you in your formatting and those sorts of things. Okay. You can also look up examples on the internet. You can just Google, reverse chronological resume and kind of look at the images and kind of get an idea and come up with a layout and a format in your head of how you want to make this work. Okay. So you can do that as well. I'd be very careful though about downloading those templates. Sometimes you have to pay for them. Okay. And if you're caught downloading them, it's copyright infringement and all that kind of thing, all those sorts of things. But you can definitely look them up for inspiration and kind of say, oh, I like that, or I don't like that, or I kind of like how they format it and use columns here and that sort of thing. Okay. So those are my 3 tips, and I've just got a few more steps that are really, really important in crafting your resume. Step number 1, grammar, 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 grammar. Okay, so when it comes to resume writing, there really aren't any hard and fast rules, with the exception of spelling and grammar. Always make sure you've got spelling and grammar squared away. Okay, and punctuation as well. So that's step number 2 is punctuation. Okay, so when you have grammar and spelling and punctuation and format and everything, style, consistency, and all those things squared away, it shows potential employers that it can clearly illustrate to potential employers that you are detail oriented, that you are organized, and that you care about presenting a professional demeanor to the world. Okay, so it's always very, very important to make sure you've got spelling, grammar, and punctuation all squared away and all taken care of. Okay, I always recommend to people, if you are creating a resume or updating a resume, read it through at least twice before you send it to anyone. Okay, always make sure those things are taken squared away. So step number 3 is posting. So if you decide you want to post your resume or you want to apply for positions, make sure that your format stays where it is. Okay, so for example, if some job postings will say if you submit a resume via Word or something like that, so make sure you're using the correct format. If you're emailing a resume, PDF is normally better, just because when they receive it on their end, it doesn't change, the formatting doesn't change. Okay, but make sure they can open a PDF. So, or you can also you can send 2 as well. You can send a Word document and a PDF as well, and that way they can kind of open them both and see which one they want to use. Okay. Qualifications, you can bold specific qualifications on your resume. You can bold, your skills list or specific skills and things like that, and your resume makes for easier reading. Okay. You can also make sure that your key information is very, very clear. So when it comes to resumes, one of the other big things that I see is that, clients create a kind of catch-all resume. Okay. It's a very general format. It's not, and when potential employers read it, it's not very clear what type of position they're looking for. Okay. So you want to make sure that you've got key information in there and that it's, utilized in a very strategic way. Maybe, so for example, maybe under your name, you say, Colleen Tapia, dental assistant underneath or something like that, and make sure you're really focusing on talking about the skills that you possess and that are useful to a dental assistant position. Okay. So make sure your key information is very, very clear. And lastly, contact information. You would not believe how many people forget to update their contact information, or they type in their email address incorrectly, or, they transpose some numbers on their phone number or something like that. Make sure, again, when you're reading through your resume, make sure you're reading through that contact information as well, and making sure that it is correct and accurate and updated. Okay. Because I've also had several different clients who have said, I'm not getting callbacks and I don't know why. And in their questionnaire, they said that their phone number is this, but on the resume, it says their phone number is this. And it's like, okay, well, I've identified one issue that we have here. So make sure that your contact information is updated. Always check it before you send it out. It's updated and it's accurate. Okay. So those are my tips for you so 3 tips to help make your dental resume memorable and help it to stand out from the pile and stand out from the crowd and hopefully get you to that interview phase. So I hope that you've enjoyed this stream and that it's been helpful to you and you've gotten some great information. Again, if you found this information helpful, be sure to drop us a like. Any questions that you have, be sure to leave them in the comments. Okay, and we will be back next week with another topic to discuss. So be sure to tune in next Wednesday, New Mountain Standard Time. That's 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Central, and 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay, so everybody have a great day, have a great week, and I will see you next week. Bye.